Hello, welcome to Ruby Rogues, the Ruby podcast, sometimes involving Rails. Here on our panel today, we have the illustrious John Epperson.
Hello, everybody.
The outrageous Valentino Stoll.
Whoa!
And our guest speaker this week is Milap Neupane. Milap, you're here to talk about AWS testing. No, Apache testing. I got confused. You're a senior engineer that doesn't just do Ruby, you also branch out doing Golang, is that correct?
Yeah, that's true.
If you'd like to, please introduce yourself because I'm doing such a bad job of it.
Thank you for inviting me to the podcast. So I'm, as you said, I'm a senior software engineer. I work with Ruby on Rails and also with Golang. I have been recently working mostly with Golang, and basically rest, I work with AWS technologies and set up infrastructure, I do cloud formation, infrastructure as code. Yeah, and also I organize a meetup here at Kathmandu of Golang meetups. And sometimes I give talk as a speaker, but I haven't done it recently due to pandemic. That's basic introduction of me.
Did you work your tail off to get that senior developer gig just to realize that senior dev doesn't actually mean dream job? I've been there too. My first senior developer job was at a place where all of our triumphs were the bosses and all the failures were ours. The second one was a great place to continue to learn and grow, only for it to go under due to poor management. And now I get job offers from great places to work all the time. Not only that, but the last job interview I actually sat in was a discussion about how much my podcast had helped the people interviewing me. If you're looking for a way to get into your dream job, then join our Dev Heroes Accelerator. Not only will we help you get the kind of exposure that makes you attractive to your dream employer, but you'll be able to ask them for top dollar as well. Check it out at devheroesaccelerator.com.
Thank you. Now, we're talking today about load testing, specifically load testing your Rails apps. Now, what we're not talking about is using these load testing tools to DDoS your friends' websites, because that's very naughty and we definitely should not do it. No using load testing to knock your friends' sites offline. So there must be a legitimate use for load testing tools, wasn't there? So why are you load testing your Rails app in the first place? Surely Rails is really fast. We know how fast Rails is, right?
Yeah. So Rails is super easy to code and set up and things, but sometimes it can go wrong when you are writing code and you forget about optimizing some of code, and you have heavy database query going on, or some network calls, external network calls that's slowing you down. So these kind of things can be figured out during development phase, during testing your performance of your application, but at times, usually when you ship the feature in production, there are a lot of users those are using your application, which you need to verify what happens when your application is being used by 1,000 users, or what happens when your application is being used by 10,000 or 1,000,000. What happens? Does the app platform perform the same way, or would your load balancer or would your auto scaling fail at that point? So figuring out those points in production when you have some critical thing going on, let's say it's a Good Friday, Friday sale going on, and your app goes down, and you would not be able to know, it would be very difficult for you to debug at that moment in production. So if you could be prepared prior to that, that would be very good use case of load testing.
I'm a little bit out of date on load testing. The last big launch I did for a site was kind of